Event Planner is a database utility that is designed to help when the preparation and running of a conference, a congress, a series of workshops or presentations. In any conference, one of the first things to establish is the event itself, the details of the event, where it's going to happen, what dates, etc. Then almost immediately the team will be formed, the people who are going to help create this event. Then the presenters will be enlisted, the people who are going to give workshops or presentations or talks. And then the locations, whether these are physical locations or online locations, these will be chosen as well. And together with the presenters and the locations, workshops will be worked out. A particular workshop being an individual presentation by an individual presenter in an individual location at a particular time. Ongoing throughout this process will be the registration of participants, people who want to go to the conference to attend it either physically or online. Normally too, any conference will have its guests, journalists, politicians and other people who are also joining in the conference, though not necessarily going to the workshops. Obviously, the presenters and locations must be worked out together before the workshops can be created. The workshops must be created and the participants registered before participants can be assigned to the workshops. So there is a certain sequence to follow here. Installation of the database. First of all, you will need FileMaker on a computer, FileMaker version 12 upwards, and you will need these two files, Event Planner and Event Data. Why two files? The Event Planner one is the one that you open, and that has all the controls, and that can be updated at any time without interfering with the data. Event Data holds all your data, and that can be left intact so that any update of Event Planner can take only a few seconds without affecting any of the data in the Event Data file. If you're using Event Planner on a tablet computer such as an iPad, you need to import these two files into an app called FileMaker Go. There's FileMaker Go 18 and FileMaker Go 19. It will not have all the features that are on the computer version, but it will work quite well. I don't recommend you installing this on a phone because the screen is far too small. The very first thing to establish are the event details. For example, the name of the event, the description of it, etc. But a very important thing from the database point of view is the identification tag that is given to the event. This can be a number, a reference number, a code word. It can be absolutely anything. But it is absolutely essential to do this first of all, because this word will be used to connect all the presenters, all the workshops, all the participants to this particular event. Once this code is created, it should not be changed. It will not be seen anywhere, so it can be a jumble of words or letters, but it is central to the coordination of all the data in the database. The title is given, the theme can be given, although neither the theme nor the description will appear elsewhere in the database. The organization is important, the start date is important, the start time will not appear elsewhere either, the end date will not either. The URL, in other words, the website for the database can be provided here, and the number of hours. This will appear on certificates. The default email is an email that is used when sending emails to any of the participants or presenters or other groups. The email is sent to this address, and a blind copy email is included to all the people in the group. The organizer, the person who's organizing the event, and their email, all of that can be recorded here. It doesn't have to be. The one essential detail that must be recorded here is the ID. The venue details can be given here and stored for convenience. You'll notice that alongside the organizer email there's a little envelope. Once that appears, clicking on it will actually open a page where you can actually send a message. This is a message to the person in question, and you can rub it out or cancel it here. If you're going to send it, you click send. The other thing that about the event is that you can set the language at the bottom. For example, it can be set in Spanish and all the headings will appear in Spanish, or it can be set in English. Those are the two languages available at the moment. The second tab here in the events are the graphics. You can store a picture of the event here if you want to. It doesn't show up anywhere else. You can keep notes about the event in general. And here the event logo is important because this will appear at the top of certificates, as will at the bottom the signature and the name and role of the signatory. These will all appear at the bottom of certificates associated with the event. In the email and client tab, there are two sections. One's the bulk email settings and the other is the client settings. The client settings establishes what form the email will take, what server it will use. Will it be a local email client or will it be an SMTP client? And obviously for SMTP client, all the details must be entered here. The bulk email settings, when bulk email are sent out, that is one message going to a whole group. In order to avoid spam regulations, we send these out in groups. So, for example, this is currently set for 50 emails to go out. There will be a 5-minute delay in between each group. Over at the right, we can enable the presenter emails or disable it. Enable or disable the participant emails. This is a measure to prevent sending out bulk emails accidentally. There's a presenter cert message. This is one that will go out with certificates to the presenters, and a message that's written in the yellow area will be sent to all of the people receiving the certificate. This is for the presenters, and there is a corresponding one for the participants. The website, when you click on website, any website address you've put in for the event will actually log in here and will show up here as is happening before you. And this is a fully interactive website. You can use it here. It's a handy way to check on the website for the event. Down at the bottom there is add an event and delete the event. And it is very important you don't delete an event that is associated with a whole series of presenters, participants, etc. As I say, this is a very important thing to set up first, especially the ID. The other details can be changed and those will reflect throughout the database, but the ID must not be changed once it's established and once other data is added to the event. One of the first things we are likely to do is to establish the team, the people who are running the event. And this is a handy place to keep their details, their name, first name, last name, middle name, email address, email salutation. For example, some people might want to be addressed as hello Mr. Smith or dear Mr. Smith or hi Joe or whatever. The phone number, notes about the person, these notes will never appear anywhere else, and the tags. The tags are very useful for grouping people. For example, I might want to mention that Jennifer is a vegan. If I click search tags, I can find all the people who have been put in as vegans. In fact, there's only one. So that's the search tags. Up on the right, there's a space for a photograph of the team if you wish to put them there, and alongside the email there's a little box with 3 important components. The first one is a tick that indicates that this person has given consent for their email to be used. If that's ticked off, the consent is blocked and no emails will be sent to that person. Alongside that, only if there is an email and only if consent is granted, there is a little envelope which will take you to a message to the individual in question. You'll notice that the salutation is included in the email. You can rub that out if you wish and you write something else, or you can continue from there. There is a way of clearing the message, sending the message, or returning to the origin of the message. Also in that little box is a third square which is green or red, and you can change that. If it is green, it means this email will be included in bulk emails to this particular group. If it is red, it means you are excluding that person from the bulk emails to that group, as you may wish to do to select some people for the bulk emails and others not. One of the early things you will establish for any conference will be the presenters, those who are going to give talks or workshops, keynotes or whatever. And in the presenters page, you can put in the first name, middle name, last name, a biography. This will appear in any handouts about the workshops this person gives. The website for the person, the email with the usual permissions, etc., the email salutation, the country of the person, you can put it in from the drop-down list, the phone number of the person, the tags. Again, you may want to divide the presenters into people who are giving workshops and people who are giving keynotes or whatever. These tags are useful for labeling them. They're like keywords you can use for your own searches. A video link, the person may have an introductory video or a recording of the presentation after it has been given, and you can put the link in here. The photograph of the person, notes about the person, and extra cert data over here. Extra cert data, you may want to have a special code number added to the person's certificate. For example, it may be an ID number, and you can put it in there. If you put that there, it will appear under the person's name on their certificate. The other tab is the address. You might want to store the address of this person because you'll be sending them messages or whatever. And the Moodle, this allows you to set up an account for Moodle. It doesn't interact with Moodle, it simply allows you to put in the account details, and once you have those put in for all of your presenters, you can export that and then import that resulting file to Moodle. It's an easy way to transfer data to Moodle. The video tab will show any video you've entered in the link earlier on, and the website will show any website you've entered in that link earlier on. At the bottom are controls to add a record, delete a record, the presenter contact list, which is a useful way of scanning through the presenters quickly. And if you want to edit one, for example, Joseph Kelly, I click edit and I'm brought back to Joseph Kelly's page. There is a search feature which will include last name and first name and email, so you can search for all or any of those. If you do search using search tabs or any other search, afterwards you should always click show all to make sure you're back to the full number of presenters or whatever the group is. Locations. The locations are where the presenters will give their workshops or talks or keynotes, and you can put in all your locations here. Remember, these will be associated with your event. You can put in their name, a host, someone who might be looking after that particular location, or maybe introducing the presenter or whatever. The location capacity, you might want to put in the number of people who can actually fit into this room or the limitations on it. You have notes on the actual room, which will be carried through any reference to the room. These notes will show up. You might want to include a photograph of the room and also maybe Zoom details if it's and if it has an online presence as well. These can be put in here. Also, you have add a record, delete a record, the search and show all, the usual controls at the bottom. The guests. The guests, as I said earlier, these may include dignitaries, journalists or other visitors who are not actually going to particular workshops. You can fill in their details here, their organisation, their role in that organisation, the salutation, all the usual details I've mentioned so far. Also their address and the website will appear here if you've put in a detail for that. Up on top here is attendance. You can click that to indicate the person has attended or not, and that can be used later on. You have add a record, delete a record, the contact list as before, the show all button, the usual buttons that are in most of the record pages. Then we come to the actual workshops, a slightly more complicated aspect of the database, because remember, for a workshop you need to have a presenter and you need to have a venue, and then you're going to assign a time to that. So here we have a workshop which has been assigned to presenter number 25, who is Kira Keynote. I could change that presenter by just going in here. I'll change it to number 29, Kelly, Joseph Kelly, right? And here's the title of the presentation, details about the presentation. Remember, this is specific to this person. Down below, the biography will appear. if there are any details given by that person. It's none about Joseph Kelly. Let's see if it's done by someone else. Yes. Johnny V. Good has his biography here, and that appears there. Notice it also counts the number of words both in the biography and the details. The details are specific to the workshop, not to the individual. One individual might give several workshops. That person's biography will appear in each of the workshops, but the details can be different. Once you create a workshop, then you want to put a time slot and a location slot. Will it be in the main hall? Will it be in the annex? And who will the host be? You might want to put in the name of the host and the date and the time. These are important because these will apply to the timetable or schedule of the workshops. The room name, if you add Zoom details for a workshop, those Zoom details will appear in this bottom space. If you have linked a video to the workshop, it will show up here. And if you have a comment about the workshop, you can put it in here. And also you can store documents for the workshop in this particular space. You are allowed up to 2 documents, and these can be exported from these spaces later on. So handouts for the workshop, things like that, can go in here. At the bottom is the add a record or remove a record. You don't have delete a record because you're not going to delete the workshop. You're simply going to remove its reference because the presenter and the room will still remain intact. The workshop schedule, you can actually have a quick jump to see what workshops have been planned already, their dates and times and so on. A good way to check on clashes. Very important in any conference are the participants, and you might be registering these right from the beginning, but don't add them here until the event has been described and that code, that all important code, has been entered. As usual for a participant, you can put in their names, email address, salutation, website, country, phone, website username, tags, extra client detail. Here again is, for example, for an ID number, you might want to add somewhere, and that will appear on the certificate. If you don't put anything there, obviously nothing will appear. A photograph, if you want to include it. Remember, you don't need to fill in all these details. The names and the email addresses are usually essential, but the others are not essential. You can put in notes about the person. Down in bottom right is the creation, who actually created this file and who modified it and what dates they were modified. You can click all present to find all the people who were actually present at the event, and always after any selection click show all to go back to the full list. There are 19 people in this list. The participant contact list will show all 19 in this case, and you can see who have email addresses, who have given permission for them to be used, who have been included or excluded from the bulk email, and you can go to any one of these to edit very easily. The address for the person, if you want to include an address for them, and there are also address labels. Now address labels will show up like this, but in fact when they're printed they will become more 8x2 address labels on a sheet. The search, as usual, will allow you to look for the first name, last name and email address, and always remember to click show all after that. The Moodle, you can put in their Moodle details here as usual. You can export those and then import them into Moodle. The workshops, here is where you assign people to workshops. So for example, if I go to Liam Gardner and I want to add another workshop, I click here, I click again and I pick the workshops, for example, Ideal Islands, and he is now assigned to that workshop on that date at this time in that room. And I can also click here to indicate he was present or not. I can also delete that workshop assignation over here. The website, if I have assigned a website to that participant and a photograph, they will show up on these tabs. The next control in the data input area is export import data. The export data is a very easy one. If you click on one of these, it immediately exports a spreadsheet of all the people. For example, if I click participants, it will immediately export a spreadsheet of all the participants, and that will show up in the folder where the database was installed to begin with. Importing data. There is an option for importing data, And first what you need to do is export the corresponding file from here, for example participants, remove all the participants from the spreadsheet, and then add your new participants and then import them with this here. The format of that spreadsheet is absolutely crucial, and you need to go through the FileMaker importing routines to import that. Before doing this, I recommend that you make a backup of your files in case anything goes wrong. Importing is a slightly delicate maneuver and it can go wrong. The second part, the central part of the menu page, gives a number of controls that are useful in the preparation of documents for your event. The presenter contact list, you might want to print that out to have a handy reference list of all your presenters. This list can also be classified according to countries and alphabetically as well. The list of workshops, where all the workshops are listed with their times and presenters, etc. A quick reference to the list of workshops. Information for presenters is a more detailed listing of the workshops, and this will actually print out as neat pages for the presenters, giving all their information about the workshops, including Zoom details if those have been included. The bulk email to presenters has the standard format for all bulk email. In other words, there's the default email address, the one that the email will appear directed to, but all the other email addresses will be included in blind copy so that people don't see other people's addresses. First of all, that has to be enabled before you try sending it. The message that's in here, this white area, will be sent to all the presenters. Remember, a bulk email means one message going to everybody, so that one message can be put in here. The number of emails going out in groups and the delay in minutes between the groups can be adjusted here as in the events page. You can clear the message here and write a new message if you wish, and then send the bulk email at the bottom. The area here in white is a postscript where a message that is included at the end of every email. For example, if you don't wish to receive more emails from us, please reply to this with unsubscribe in the title. Thank you. Bulk emails should be tested out well before you try them, and that is why we have the enable and disable here, so that you won't send them by accident. The next thing are the address labels for the presenters. These will be printed on sheets of 16 labels, 8 by 2, and they will be laid out neatly when you print them. They don't show up well on the screen, but they will be laid out neatly when you print them. The participant contact list we have seen before, and this can be printed out. Also, it gives a breakdown of the countries and even statistics of the countries, a quick reference to where people are from. The information for participants is similar to the information for presenters, but doesn't give all the Zoom details. Those can be publicized at the last minute on the website rather than through messages like this. Assigned workshops. Once you have assigned people to workshops, you will want to let them know what workshops they have been sent to or they're being assigned to, and these appear like certificates that each person will receive, and there's a message away here of clicking that so that it will be sent as an attachment to each person. Bulk email to participants form follows the same format as all bulk email, the same layout, the same rules apply. Address labels for participants, the same as other address labels. They will print in pages of 8 by 2. Bulk email to guests follows the same format as all bulk emails. The last the last third of the menu screen are documents that might be useful during the convention itself. For example, a participant registration list where you want people to sign on the dotted line when they come in, or once you've done that you may want to mark them present, and you can do that digitally here on the database as well. Only those who are marked present will actually get certificates for the event. You can print this very easily. You can show all the people or just all those who are present if you wish. Then there's the participant name badges. These are lapel badges and they will show up printing 8x2s again, and the logo, the convention logo, will appear on the badge as well as the person's name. The presenter name badges has the same idea for presenters, and the guest name badge is the same idea for our guests. The workshop schedule, this is a detailed list of the workshops by date and by time, the venue and the title of the workshop and the presenter's name. The workshop participants, these appear as pages. If I look in preview, I'll see this as a page. This workshop, Thursday the 1st of April at 10:30 in the annex. It's entitled The Ownership of Rockhall by presenter Johnny V. Good, and here are the people who are assigned to attend that. This particular document can be printed as separate pages for each workshop or as a scroll list where they all appear just in one list. The room door posters, each door can have a special poster that indicates what's happening inside at a particular time. So for example, here we see that on Thursday the 1st of April, the annex at 10:30 will have a workshop called The Ownership of Rockhall by Johnny V. Good and a brief explanation of the workshop. After the event, it is usual to send attendance certificates or to hand out attendance certificates to those present, and that is where this part comes in. Now, the presenters have two versions of their certificate, the basic certificate of attendance and one that mentions the content of their presentation. The certificate for presenters will appear as a page like that. To certify that this person attended this workshop, you'll notice that ID number appears here because I put it in his file earlier on, and the title of the convention, the title of the workshop, the date, etc. These certificates can also be sent out in bulk so that each certificate is sent as an attachment to each individual. The other type of certificate for presenters includes details about the content of the presentation. This may be useful in particular cases. The certificates for participants come in three forms. One is a general one, which just says the person attended the conference and gives the details to certify that this person attended this conference, the date and the number of hours involved. This is useful for continuous professional development. The other type of certificate includes details of the workshops, and depending on the number of workshops, there are two formats, one for 4 to 8 workshops and another for 4 to 16 workshops. They are identical except slight difference in the format to accommodate more workshops. I will just look at this one, detailed certificate for participants. So this one will indicate that this person attended the conference and the following workshops, and only those that are marked as present will be included here. Again, for each of the certificates there is a bulk email for each of the certificates, where one certificate will be sent to each person. Each person will receive their own certificate for the event.